Welcome to the Respectful Divorce Podcast. If you're considering divorce, it's important to know that you have options for how you divorce. On the Respectful Divorce Podcast, we explore those options and provide advice from divorce professionals. I'm your host, Tim Crouch, and today we're talking with members of the Collaborative Practice Institute of Michigan. Joining us today are collaborative divorce attorney Alisa Peskin-Shepherd, divorce financial specialist Julie Quick, Carri Goldring, a certified divorce lending specialist, and mental health professional and divorce coach Jordana Wolfson. Thank you all for joining us today.
Thanks, Tim.
Happy to be here.
Thank you for having us.
So let's start with that kind of first question about why and how did you end up in the divorce world? And Alisa, as the attorney in the group, did you go to law school to become a divorce lawyer, or how did you end up in divorce?
I did not go to law school to become a divorce lawyer. And if I told you I tried to stay away from this area of law, would you be surprised?
No.
Right. My background, I grew up around divorce and broken marriages, and I didn't want to be in this area of law. I really tried hard not to be. I started out in the practice of employment law, school law, but I was in firms where I was also being mentored in divorce law and family law. And my practice area, my business just grew so much faster in the family law area. And it goes so much quicker also than the other areas of law where I was trying to practice. And I think my natural inclination toward empathy, compassion, being able to listen to people, hear what they're saying, taking them through a difficult process so that I could help them is why that area of my practice grew. I wanted to be a social worker. My mother veered me away from that area of a career and kept telling me that I would make a great lawyer. I'd make a great lawyer. That's how I got to law school. And I think because I wanted to be in the mental health field in the first place, where you do a lot of listening and really what you see is being able to help people in a really good way to improve their lives. It's what I think is why I've ended up in this area and excelling in this area of my practice.
So, Jordana, that probably is a good transition to you because Alisa wanted to do perhaps what you do. How did you end up doing what you're doing, and particularly in terms of divorce related work?
Okay. Well, it was not a straight path. I actually did start out with clinical social work, and then I really veered off into working in nonprofit management and then into the education arena for many, many years. I think it was when I was working in education and I had kids coming to my office that I called frequent flyers with their headaches and stomach aches. I learned a lot about some of the children, that some of their challenges were dealing with their parents who were in a high conflict situation. And I always thought about how I couldn't really help the children unless I was able to help their parents make changes. I am a child of divorce, and I had been through a divorce with 3 children and had a very positive experience co-parenting with my co-parent, and felt maybe I have something that I could teach other people or support and help other people. So when I was looking to get out of the education field and back into clinical social work and interested in opening my own practice, I actually went to a continuing education seminar And it was on how social workers can be their own entrepreneurs. And what the woman said to us hit me very hard at the time. She said, everybody hangs out a shingle to open their social work practice. And basically, I'll do depression and anxiety and ADD and everything under the sun. She said, you should really think about something that you're really special, that you really know about, and that you could really excel in teaching and listening to others and helping them with. And I just sat there and I wrote divorce on my paper. I'm like, I know exactly. And that from there, the idea was born. And I came up with this concept of opening a business that just focuses on families of divorce and separation and co-parenting. So I actually won't take on any individual weekly clients for anything else. I know a lot of therapists do a mix of things because they feel it's too much to do this all the time. But for some reason, it works for me and I really love it.
Mm-hmm. Julie, you're a financial professional. What brought you to the divorce world?
Yeah, well, like Jordana said, it wasn't a straight route for sure, but definitely feel like I found my home. I'm a CFP, certified financial planner, and I've been doing financial planning for 25 years, the majority of my career at larger institutions. And I started my practice 5 years ago with the intent to focus on predominantly women post-divorce. I just feel that as a female CFP, we're underrepresented in the financial services industry. And I think that translates into women being underserved. And so I started my practice to help women rebuild post-divorce. I'm also a child of divorce. And so I witnessed the struggles that my mom, well, actually both my parents went through when they went through their divorce, and the stress and strain that it caused on the family. And so I quickly learned working with these people post-divorce that, gosh, what a difference I could make if I could get involved during the divorce process when really, really critical decisions are being made. So I started doing, I got the CDFA designation, then started getting involved during divorce, predominantly litigated cases, which is great work. I will always do that work as well. But I think that the transparent and amicable approach to collaborative and mediation is just a natural fit for my personality style. I think it supports the whole family, which when I'm doing a collaborative case, I'm really focusing on the individuals, but also the children, and what kind of dynamic is that family going to have post-divorce for years to come, and can I be an influence in setting that family up for success moving forward? So yeah, I absolutely love doing collaborative work and serving on a team with other professionals. It's a multifaceted approach, and supporting these folks. So yeah, it was an indirect route, but basically I'm helping people before, during, and after divorce with the financial aspects.
So, Carri, you bring a different kind of certification and skill set because you are a certified divorce lending specialist. How did you get that certification and choose that to be a part of the work that you do?
I think as organically as everybody else, right? Like you just kind of find this windy road and end up where you are. So I've always been in the mortgage business and started working with, first-time home buyers, people who are buying second homes, refinancing, people going through divorce. And I had a business coach, and we were talking, and he had said to me, anytime you talk about the families going through divorce and how you help and educate them, you just light up. And he said, if I had any advice for you, anything that is not divorce related, I would stop doing. And so I did. And then I just went all in. Anything divorce, I would say yes. And anything that wasn't divorce, I said no. And with anything else, the more you get involved and the more you do, the more you meet people, the more you know, the more you learn. And the certified divorce lending professional designation is somewhat new. And so I went through a bunch of training and class and test taking and got my certification where you can really look at underwriting guidelines from a divorce eye, which is different than the regular mortgage business. And it's something that I still do weekly, update meetings, education, constantly continuing education. And the more I learn, the more I really appreciate being the educator and, partial, sounding board for people going through what they're going through. And I do love it. It just brings me great joy to give people hope that they may not have had otherwise.
So just to follow up on that, how is what you do as a lending specialist different in the divorce arena from the traditional home buyer? How is that process different, or what are the requirements that change if you're in the midst of a divorce?
So a couple ways that are mighty easy to explain it. So if you think of general IRS rules, they have rules for everybody on how to pay taxes, right? But if you're self-employed or you're divorced, then there's different rules for those types of things. So underwriting, mortgage rules kind of come in the same way. So there's different guidelines for people who are going through divorce. And if you don't do it all the time, it's just not top of mind. So I think the fact that I do this 100% for my business, the rules and the guidelines are just top of mind all the time. The other main difference is when I wasn't in the divorce world, someone would call me and say, I want to buy a house. And you would ask, what's your income? What's your assets? How much do you want to spend? Can I run your credit? And they would give you all their information and you would say, okay, this is what you can do, or are you comfortable doing this? When you're in the divorce arena, there's nothing solid. So we talk about, do you want to keep your home? Do you want to sell your home? What kind of budget do you think you have? How much support do you need? What debt do you want to keep? What debt do you want to get rid of? So there's a lot more maneuvering. And then as they go through the negotiation process, obviously the maneuvering changes. So I'm more in touch with people for a longer time period. And then I'm just constantly moving as the negotiations are moving.
Yeah, and I would say that Carri started being involved in a lot of our divorce cases before we all became trained in collaborative divorce. And even while we were on teams doing collaborative divorce, we would reach out. It wouldn't be unusual that I would reach out to Carri. And over time, when we realized how significant her contribution is to be involved during the process, not waiting until after, Carri did take the training. And so now she is a full team member for us in those cases.
Wow. So let's talk about the collaborative process and how it works and how it's different. And Alisa, from your standpoint as the attorney, why collaborative? But then how is your role different in the collaborative process versus your role in a litigated case?
In my opinion, my humble opinion, family law cases, divorce cases do not belong in our legal system. Our legal system doesn't serve the family. The legal process tries to push people through quickly and more mechanically. In the collaborative divorce process, each case is individual. It is private. It doesn't, all of the dirty laundry doesn't get aired. It's private. And you have a team that is fully supporting you. My role as a collaborative divorce attorney representing a client is as an advocate, I am not adversarial. I am an advocate for my client, but also actually for the whole family. We sometimes describe it where if somebody was walking by and observing a team working, you wouldn't know which attorney was representing the husband, which attorney was representing the wife, because of the way that we're working in such a collaborative fashion and advocating for each of our clients and for the family as a whole.
And I think it's important to say you are the advocate for the client, whereas Julie and Jordana and Carri are really much more neutral in the work that they do.
Yes. So I'm an advocate for one client. There's another attorney who's an advocate for the other client.
So Julie, as the financial professional, how do you do your work? What do you do, and what are your goals as that financial professional in the course of a collaborative case?
Yeah. So I, as you just stated, I am a neutral party. So I'm working with both spouses and looking out for their respective best interests. One thing that I love about financial planning, and I learned this quite quickly, is that money is so much more than just spreadsheets and numbers and graphs. Money is very, very emotional. And when you add in an emotional, life-changing event, that elevates the financial aspects. And so I really love working with people. I work with them on a one-on-one basis, as well as in a group setting, helping them to articulate what their goals and objectives are, and helping the whole team help the clients reach a resolution that achieves those objectives and those interests. And, leveraging the appropriate party, like leveraging Jordana when some of those emotional aspects are kind of hindering a client from making really good decisions. But technically what I'm doing is, collecting all the financial information on behalf of the team, organizing it, and assembling a marital balance sheet for everyone to use. A lot of times, this can be helping to bring transparency to one of the spouses. It's very common for there to be this imbalance in financial understanding or financial knowledge in general. So it's just bringing some education, shedding some light on the marital estate, and helping to contribute to conversations around property division. Also working with each party individually, helping them build what I call their post-divorce spending plan. So getting very, very clear on what life is going to cost them post-divorce, which may be different than what life costs them today. And then running future projections. So as we near the end of the case and have a general understanding of what property division looks like, and we've got a really good understanding of what their income and expenses are, projecting a potential settlement out into the future. And a lot of times that is the key for people to feel confident in reaching an agreement. And going back to what I said earlier, really honing in, highlighting what were your goals and objectives that you stated, and are we achieving those? So you may not be getting what you initially thought you wanted, but we are getting to that end result. So kind of focusing on the end goal and how we're getting them there.
Yeah. And I would assume that a lot of your work naturally flows into what Carri does. Would that be accurate, Carri?
Yes, Julie and I work very closely together.
And so when you get that information from Julie, what are you able to do with that, and how do you help the clients in terms of resolving the questions about where they're going to live?
Right. So either I'm getting it from the client themselves or from Julie, and it usually starts with what's the goal. The goal is one party wants to stay in the home, one party wants to either purchase or, rent, and then of course they wouldn't need me. But we usually start with the goal, and then I work through, is that possible or is it not possible? And if it's not possible, do we have ways to make it possible? So what if one spouse takes over a car loan so someone can qualify, or We do a little bit extra spousal support because that gets them to stay in the home with the kids. So we kind of just really, it's a lot of back and forth as the negotiation, but I think we're always starting and ending with what's the goal.
Yeah. And then Jordana, talk about your role as the divorce coach, the mental health professional in a collaborative case. What do you do?
Okay. Well, it's a lot of things. So first and foremost, I'm really there to help with some of the emotional issues that arise. So I think, Julie had referred to it, and Julie and I, we work together on a lot of cases. We're sort of a team, but there's a lot of emotion oftentimes around finances and also just the whole process of getting divorced itself. Sometimes the finances are actually just a symbol of the whole process of the divorce that's painful for somebody. And people want to feel that not only are they walking away with something that's fair and equitable, they also want to feel like some of their past frustrations are resolved through the settlement and even the financial settlement. And that's not always realistic. And so we have to really help them get to a different place emotionally and recognize that sometimes you have to separate out your emotion from some of the realities or work through that emotion. So that's really how I can assist. So I always attend all of the meetings, and oftentimes if I find that there's somebody getting very tense or unhappy in a meeting, I'm able to suggest maybe to take a breakout room or to go into another room if we're there physically together to see if I can de-escalate and help everybody get back on track to finish the meeting. I also do a lot of information gathering in the beginning to learn about the history of both parties and the family history so that I have a very deep understanding of how we got to this space and how we got to the divorce place. And that sometimes is information where I might share with the attorneys in a more general sense and with the financial person, like why somebody may be reacting a certain way to something. Luckily, in the collaborative divorce process, we all have releases signed so we can all speak openly with each other. And I don't necessarily have to go into somebody's details about their childhood trauma, but sometimes just saying something to the lawyers like, I know it seems strange that this person reacted so negatively towards this financial decision, but here's why. There's a whole context to that. So I do think contextualizing makes the job easier for the attorneys and the finance person, a little smoother road. Another big part is if they have children, I usually work with them offline, meaning separately from the whole big group. And I work with them on a parenting agreement and any co-parenting issues that they're encountering. I also educate them about best practices with co-parenting post-divorce. And oftentimes I am the person post-divorce that they will reach out to a couple of times during the first year because they are adjusting to the co-parenting and lots of questions come up. And not to say that they don't continue on after the first year, but most people are able to resolve some things and get a hang of how to do it after that first year. So it's emotional support. It's knowing about developmental phases and milestones for children, which is something that I'm trained in, and understanding the emotional impact of divorce on families as a whole and for individuals, what they're going through, and really holding everybody's hand and helping them to the other side with it in a very neutral capacity. I'm not there to advocate for either client. I'm just there to really understand them and help them get to the finish line in a way that's healthy, that sets them up for post-divorce happiness and good co-parenting relationships.
Yeah. At least I guess one of the biggest differences in collaborative versus litigation, in litigation, somebody's telling you what you are going to do. The judge, or, that it's the attorney saying this is the way it's going to be. But in the collaborative process, it's the clients who ultimately make the decisions, right?
It's why the ownership, that's why it works so well, is that they take ownership over a lot of the process. We guide them into, okay, this is sort of the meeting structure and things like that. But every collaborative case I've been on has evolved in creative, different ways based on what the client's needs are and what we learn from them. We really try to pay attention and listen. I would say with the parenting plan in particular, we have a lot more opportunity to be creative and offer creative solutions. I think one of the pieces that's difficult for me is sometimes I see in litigated cases that there's these boilerplate parenting agreements put together that doesn't really take into account how the family operates, some of their special family traditions and things of that nature. So I really work hard to create something unique and creative with them, not for them.
And Alisa, that difference from when a judge says this is it versus when you own the process, what difference does that make?
Our clients appear to be much more satisfied with the outcome. So healthier outcomes when they have control over the decisions that they're making. It's a path to get to those decisions, gathering all of the information and clients feeling that they have all of the information that they want, and the attorney making sure they have all of the information that they need to make that informed decision for a positive outcome for themselves. And like Julie said, it's not always what they expected when they came into the room, but they know now that they've gone through the process that they're making a good decision because they've gathered and they have all of the information that they need.
And as a result, it means that there's less likelihood of any kind of post-divorce litigation. Is that correct?
Yes, it is a much lower percentage of people who have to go back to court. And it is not unusual that people want to modify something with child support or parenting time post-judgment. And having gone through the collaborative divorce process and having these resources and this support system in place already allows people, when they have a post-judgment issue, to come back to us, to go back to Jordana for some co-parenting coaching if that comes up. It's another plus to the collaborative divorce process.
So you all have done this through the years. Do you have a favorite story to tell about a particular circumstance where the collaborative process worked really well? Julie?
It was a challenging case from day one. Very difficult to have them all in the same room and have conversations for a variety of reasons. But the professionals, we were working like a well-oiled machine that we were able to support the clients and kind of, lead them through the process and ultimately reach a successful outcome. So while they had their own issues between the two of them, I can only hope that the multidisciplinary approach to their divorce, that someday they will come to appreciate that they were able to do that together through this process.
Yeah. Jordana, what about you?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of them actually, but I would say recently had a case where it started out not collaborative. It started out as a one lawyer divorce case, and it just kind of got a little complicated. So the lawyer slowly suggested maybe adding on some professionals, and it really worked out very beautifully. And I felt like that's the nice thing about this process, is that it's flexible enough to, kind of start from somewhere else if needed. And obviously it couldn't have been litigated, with that lawyer or whatever, but it was nice that we could be flexible and add on some professionals to make it work. And it felt like very rewarding at the end that it worked out, because they had struggled during the first part of the process, and there were a lot of challenges that were unique and different. But there's so many cases that are so unique and different. It's actually difficult to identify a favorite because of that.
Carri, you're kind of taking a different perspective, but something where a case that you were involved in, that what you were able to do with that couple really was memorable.
I think one where I had both spouses, and they were talking to me on the phone at the same time. One was trying to stay in the home, one was trying to move to a new home, and we just kind of worked through, like, if you were given this much money, could you use that as your down payment? But she needs to keep the house and earn this much in support payments. Would you be willing to pay? What if you guys switched your car payments? Where you'd really get to rework the puzzle, where both people's outcome is what they're doing. And I think that makes it easier when you're paying support payments or you're taking on somebody else's debt. To see the process of while you're doing what you're doing makes it so much easier to call it fair, for lack of a better word, because you're trying to keep your family in a particular home, or, keep both parents in the same subdivision, or whatever they're trying to do. So when people are willing to work with you, you could really maneuver all the pieces in a way that makes it a good win-win.
Yeah. Alisa, favorite story?
I love seeing my clients thrive after the divorce, and I try to stay in touch with most of my clients. So one of my favorite thriving post-divorce stories, and where the collaborative process, I really think, made a big difference, and my client has said so actually, it was a very complicated case to get through, and those complications with children and with finances didn't end after their divorce. They continued. But because they had gone through the collaborative divorce process, they had the skills that they needed to be able to work out the challenges that they were having post-judgment.
We're doing this podcast ahead of Divorce with Respect Week. Each of you, just quickly, what does respect in divorce look like to you? And so, Jordana, I'll let you start first on that.
One of the things that I love about collaborative divorce is how it keeps it out of the public record and the system, and keeps it private. And I think there's an element of dignity to that. I think that just in general, when we talk about divorce with respect, it means that the professionals are collaborating together and not working against each other, because that makes a huge difference in the outcome of a divorce. I know people think it's funny when, maybe their divorce attorneys are friendly with each other, but that's actually an advantage. They might feel threatened by it, thinking, well, are you going to advocate for me because this is your friend? But actually, those two people getting along well and working well together is a plus for the clients. Because if they're not working together well, it just becomes about them and their ego on top of the client's own issues and ego with the situation. So,
well, Alisa, respect in divorce, what does that look like to you?
It is the same dignity. It is dignity for yourself, dignity for the process, and dignity for the person from whom you're getting a divorce from. A lot of people have misinformation about what does collaborative divorce look like. People think it's kumbaya or it's all amicable or easy, but I don't think any of us have had an easy case, because it's still a divorce. People are upset with each other. There are issues. It's knowing how to move through those issues and still come out being able to respect yourself as well as the other person in the room that you're divorcing. That's what respect in divorce means to me.
Carri?
I would say from a traditional divorce perspective, where maybe you're doing more finger pointing and finger poking, when you do the collaborative process, I feel it's more of a team effort to try to get through respecting the other person as much as you can to get a solution of how do we separate our family in the best, most productive way. And I think the fact that you get to look at all different sides of everything from financial, emotional, legal, I just think that's such a wonderful thing that someone can say this works legally and someone can say, no, it doesn't financially, but what if we do this? And I think it's more of a problem solving. And really, without divorce, I think every family should go through where you get this team effort and you redo all your legal and your financial and all your emotional stuff.
Finally, Julie, respect.
Yeah, I would say that this process does request a little bit of bravery from people. Like Alisa was saying, this is not kumbaya, everyone's happy. I mean, I sometimes argue that this is harder because you're not hiding behind your attorney who's fighting for you. You are in the room, being transparent, being open, and discussing some really, really hard things. So it's being brave. It's I feel it's acknowledging that there's a breakdown in the marriage, and despite any discomfort and difficult feelings, being able to think about the other person and ultimately wanting both people to come out of this in a good way. And I really admire the people who say, this person's the parent of my children, and I want to be able to, be at graduations and be at weddings and still be good co-parents. And so that's what this process means to me. It's thinking bigger picture and thinking down the road, what kind of relationship do I want with this person? And treating each other during the divorce the way that you want to end up down the road.
Yeah. So each of you, what's the best way to get in touch with you, Julie?
You can get in touch with me through my website, cultivatedivorce.com. All my contact information is in there. I offer a complimentary phone call just to have a discussion, talk through my process, hear what people's challenges and concerns are and how we may be a fit.
Yeah. Carri?
My best way would be my cell phone, which you can call or text 248-420-4524. And I'd be happy to talk to anyone on the phone and be as helpful as I can be.
Jordana?
Yeah, so also my website has all my contact information. It's a long name. It's www.coparentingsolutionsllc.com. And my phone number and contact information is on there. You can also book an introductory 15-minute consultation with me that's free.
And Alisa?
My website also is the best place to get my contact information, which is transitionslegal.com. And you can get my contact information and a lot more information there.
We'll put all of that information in the show notes, along with a link to the Collaborative Practice Institute of Michigan website and to the Divorce with Respect Week website. Thank you all for joining us today on the Respectful Divorce Podcast.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks for having us.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yeah, this important programming note, Divorce with Respect Week is March 3rd through 9th. During Divorce with Respect Week, you can talk with lawyers, divorce coaches, divorce financial experts for free to learn more about the divorce process and your options. Simply go to divorcewithrespectweek.com to find professionals near you. That's divorcewithrespectweek.com. I'm Tim Crouch, reminding you that collaborative divorce is a better way to untie the knot.